Hey, I'm Emily from Cedar Hill Garden Consulting, and today we are going to talk about seeds in your garden, how you harvest them and store them for next year. Now, every vegetable produces seed in different ways, but for today's purposes, we're going to focus on leafy greens and herbs like this cilantro we have here. Why do we even save seeds in our garden in the first place? Well, for one, once you realize how many seeds your plant produces, you realize how much money you're gonna save not buying it every year. So for example, I planted this cilantro maybe 3 years ago, and every year I just use the seed from the plant for the next year and so on and so forth. So I haven't bought cilantro in 3 years. Another reason it's good to harvest your seed is because this plant has grown in this environment, which actually makes this seed really strong and healthy, meaning that next year its genetics are already used to my climate, so you just continue to get stronger and stronger plants, which is an awesome thing to have in your garden. So whereas fruiting vegetables like tomatoes and squash have their seeds within them and you have to open them up and save them that way, the way that a leafy green or an herb produces seed is on the edge of the plant. So this plant looks pretty crazy right now. It doesn't look like this when it's growing. Let me show you kind of the process of what the plant looks like as it goes through the stages of what is called bolting. Essentially, the plant is trying to reproduce itself before it dies and produce the seed. So over here we have a cilantro plant that's kind of in the mid stages of bolting. It started out as this leafy cilantro green that we're all used to seeing, and then at some point when the weather got hot, because this is a cool weather vegetable, it started to get really tall and start the bolting process. What that looks like is these beautiful little flowers, which I love to leave for the pollinators, and it stays in this stage for a while, and then all of a sudden the flowers will fall off. And then what starts to happen is your seed starts to form, and you have these little pods on the end. They start out green and shiny, and they look like almost like baby tomatoes. And then as they dry out, that's what you're really going for, is the dried out seed. And at the end of everything, the dried out seed looks brown and crunchy, and that's what you want to save. So there's a couple of ways to do that. So once we're to this point and the seed has completely dried on the plant, we can tell that. We pull the seeds off. What do we do with them now? Well, you basically have two options. You can store them, which the best place to do that would be, in an envelope or like a little baggie inside. You can even buy cute little seed packets online. And all you want to remember is to just keep it it doesn't have to be a cold place, but you just don't want it in like a humid garage. You want it to be in kind of just room temperature until you're ready to use them again. So that's one way to store your seed. The second way is what I like to do, which is that. I just like to take my seed and throw it in the bed. And the cool thing about nature is that it knows when it's time to grow. So right now I'm going into summer, and cilantro doesn't grow in the warm summer months. So when I throw that seed out, what will happen was it will lie dormant there all summer, and then in the fall when the temperature just barely ticks down and I get a little rain, I'll come out here one day and I'll have brand new baby cilantros coming up out of the ground, free herbs for the fall. Seed saving can be really, really lucrative for your garden game long term. So I highly recommend giving it a try. And if you're a beginner, start with something easy like cilantro, where you can clearly see the pods, it bolts, you can see the whole process. Start there, and then after you get comfortable with that, maybe move on to a more advanced thing like saving tomato seeds or squash seeds, which can just be a little bit more advanced. Either way, give it a try. You'll be so excited that you have learned a new skill in the garden, and you'll be ready to go for the next season.